Hello. Hello.
Hello.
Hello, Trek fans. And here we are to talk Trek yet again every 2 weeks. Back again. And this time we are here to wrap up Disco and to talk about Picard again. Oh, I lost my slipper. That's fine. I don't really need it. Anyways, we're here. I am Nicole. Hello. I'm here. Thank you. Gary has given me my slipper. As I was going to say, I am here in the same room with Gary.
Hello.
And across the city of Toronto is Green. How's it going?
Oh, I'm all right. I'm currently in self-isolation because a family member has COVID. I have not left the apartment since Tuesday.
Yay. No symptoms yet, though?
No, I feel fine.
Oh, that's good, at least.
Yep.
So,
So
knock wood on that continues.
I may be back at work tomorrow. We'll see. Both me and my sister are going to do tests tomorrow. If they both come negative, I guess I'm going in. If not, then I'm calling HR and be like, "You what?" Because it used to be 14, but then they shortened it to 5 because reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yep, that's what I've heard. Reasons of going back to normal. Yay!
My entire department has it. There are no daytime receivers. I don't have it, but I'm with a family member that has it, and my entire department at work has it. So, maskless is going well.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
We're going to be wearing the masks.
When I was in hospital, like I had an outbreak on my floor, right? And like everyone was under heavy COVID protections, right? Like,
oh my god, we had to wear gowns, and like I had to wear I didn't see Gary for about 6 months without like a face shield and gloves and a gown and a mask, like everything. So
I used to joke, if I saw yellow gowns going around, I knew COVID was in the building.
Yeah. No, there was like a couple of times I saw him with just a mask, but not very often.
Well, and
everyone kept getting COVID on that floor. So hey,
I lost hearing in my my left ear on Monday as well. So I had to go to the ER to get that sorted with. It's fine now, dealt with. It was just a block. They had to flush it out. But
definitely had that happen.
So this is the first time I've been to the hospital since COVID started. But they were just like, yeah, fuck that, like fuck maskless. They're under full, like the ER was under full COVID precautions still, like nothing had changed.
That is awesome and good to hear. So, because hospitals don't mess around really with that stuff. They really can't.
Yeah, so because of that I had a 4-hour wait to get my ears flushed, which should have been like half an hour, but like I'll take the extra long wait over like risking an outbreak in a hospital.
Oh, I mean, even in the before times, when I had an ear infection that was really, really bad, I waited like almost 7 hours at Mount Sinai once to get seen. And I wanted to they asked me how I felt, and I said I wanted someone to shoot me in the face. And the doctor was like, well then.
I specifically went to a hospital that's on the outskirts of the city because I figured Mount Sinai would be just untenable.
Oh, Mount Sinai is the worst.
Like, it is.
I have to go there all the time, and the construction has been going on at least the last 2 years. I've heard longer, and it just makes the entire building a mess.
And I mean, it's a better hospital. Like I would rather be there if you have to be admitted or something like that than most places. But
one of the best to go to, right?
Yeah,
in the city.
Yeah. Anyway. Exciting times in Ontario. Woohoo! So let's talk about the future instead, and then we'll be talking about the past. Well, it is the past or our future, because as I pointed out, this whatever's going to go down in Picard will happen just in time to ruin my 49th birthday. So thanks so much, Q. Much apprecited. April 19th.
2 years.
April 19th, 2 years away, will be just before my 49th birthday on the 23rd. Gary was like, but it's not on your birthday. I'm like, well, whatever they're going to screw up is going to certainly screw up my birthday in a few days after. But first, Discovery. Discovery. We had the Discovery finale, and on it, we lost your camera.
I don't.
Oh dear. Oh, we lost Green altogether. Device is not connected. Huh.
Well, I'm sure he'll pop on as soon as like it clears up.
We'll see what happens with them. Yeah, as soon as that pops up. So just give it a minute, but we'll see what happens there. But we were going to start with Discovery.
I think you can go ahead and we'll couch him in.
Yeah. The first Discovery episode the first episode we're going to talk about is Discovery, which is the finale. Excuse me. It's called Coming Home, and the synopsis is: the DMA approaches Earth and Navarre. With evacuations underway, Burnham and the team aboard the USS Discovery must find a way to communicate and connect with a species far different from their own before time runs out. A few things missing in there, like Tarka trying to blow up everything.
Oh God, yeah.
And with Book and Jet Reno on his ship and captured. As well as that, we also have Vance and Tilly trying to on Earth's last stand in the Federation ship / starbase.
Yeah.
Very interesting spaceport. Yeah, it's great. Like that thing moves pretty fast for how big it is.
Well,
and the best part is like the you were gonna say the decks.
Yes, yeah, how it can like come apart. Like it's very reminiscent of Book ship, right? Like everything in the future seems to like it doesn't need to be like solid structure.
Seems to be modular, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. That's the word I was looking for.
Which is kind of cool. Like, I mean, Book ship seems to be modular in order to like be able to fly in different ways.
Yeah.
But that was modular just for evacuation purposes, which is awesome. Green is going to try and reboot, so hopefully that will get them started up again.
But yeah, like the fact that the spaceport is able to operate like that really made it a useful thing for the evacuation.
Yeah, and that makes me wonder if they have like the ability to do that with some of their like space dock and stuff like that. If they can teleport like whole space docks, whole ships away as on top of that as well, that would be really interesting. So that that was a packed episode.
I know, right? Like it felt at one point you were like, "Is it over? Is there more?" And then there was like,
well, remember, I thought that episode 12 was the finale for a second. True. Like I thought we'd have to come back and deal with that, but as Green pointed out last time we talked, like that's not really a Discovery thing to do. They rarely have an episode like a season finale that doesn't like tie things up, right? Like Discovery is always sort of has things tied up in sort of a bow. They might have some loose ends for the next season that you can use for plots that you're looking at and you're going, oh, okay, well, this might happen or this might happen. I know you think one might be Tarka.
Yes.
Yeah. But I mean,
for what the last scene had.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if I agree with that, but it's a possibility. But I mean, mostly they tend to wrap up like all of their, whatever's going on. They tend to wrap up their plots for the most part. So, it looked like, oh my God, are we going to have to wait that long to find out what happens with Michael and Book? Obviously not. So this was a lot going on. I mean, I feel like a lot of Discovery episodes end up happening like that, or there's either a lot going on or it feels kind of slow sometimes. But this one definitely was not the case with that. Oh, and we're gonna Green back.
Well,
hello.
Me? I have no idea what happened.
No worries. So we were just talking about, we just recapped what the basics of what happened in the Discovery episode, in the finale. And we were just talking a little bit about how I had mistakenly thought that episode 12 was finale, which it was not. And how we had talked last week about how Discovery tends to kind of wrap things up in a bit of a neat bow. And one of the things that Gary, that you missed, actually, that Gary had mentioned that he thought, I said, there's sometimes a few little plot threads that they might move on for next season. They didn't have many in this one, but Gary thought one might be Tarka. And he can explain that more if he wants to, because we didn't really go into that.
Well, sure. Like the final scene, like as everyone's evacuating the ship, because it's going to be destroyed. I think it's going to come up against the edge of the barrier or something along those lines. So Tarka's only able to get one of them off the ship, and he makes a decision to help Book get back to Discovery. So as like Nick and I talked about when we watched it, it was one of his moments where he kind of redeemed himself. He did a thing which wasn't about Tarka.
It was the only moment. The only moment.
Yes.
But if you remember, he's talking about how like he can still teleport himself into the alternate reality that he's trying to get to.
He said it might work. And that's why Gary thinks he might be alive, I think.
Yeah, because that scene shows him kind of picking up the device and studying it just as they cut away from him. Right? And then the explosion happens, and you're supposed to believe that he's probably been killed by it.
I think I leave it ambiguous as to whether he got out or not. I don't think they're going to come back to him.
Well, I wondered about that, right? Like, I felt like there was a chance that, he succeeds in a way, but it ends up being a problem.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. I have a feeling that they'll just leave it all up in the air and they won't address whether he got out or not. But I mean, they did imply that there are both this season and last season discussed like alternate realities to an extent. Yeah. So I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if season 5 focuses on that. I don't know. I don't think we're going to see Tarka again. I just don't get that vibe. I wouldn't be surprised if he gets brought up, but I don't think we're going to get an answer one way or another as if he survived or not.
Yeah, I'm not of the impression either that we will. I mean, it's a possibility, but I mean, that's Gary's theory. It's a possibility, but it's not something I see happening. But the thing that I, liked about what happened with Tarka is finally, finally Book gets through to him and says, dude is dead. You're not going to find him. We have to accept that the people we love are gone sometimes.
Well, yeah, and like
and he does.
So what Tarka's talking about is really inconsistent because he, at one point, sometimes when he talks about it, it sounds like he's talking about like a conceptual afterlife, and other times it sounds like he's just talking about an alternate reality.
Yeah.
That's because he's culturally appropriated a belief from Oros, basically, right? Like he basically grabbed something and was like, "This works for me, and I'm going to use it." It's like,
he is appropriating.
It's his yoga, basically, right? Like, I mean, maybe that's a bit of a flip comparison, but somewhat, right?
Well, I also enjoyed that Jet gets to engage in the argument of like, even if this is an alternate reality where everyone is the same, they're a different person.
It's not you. It's not them.
It's not them.
Yeah. He was trying to when he was trying to convince Book, like, oh, you can see your family again, right? When Jet was like, yeah, well, even if it's them, it's not them. Yeah. And Book is like, well, is it them? And Tarka's, well, technically, no, but it's basically the same thing. And I think maybe his changing story is also that he never has, he never tells the truth anyway, not even to himself.
Yeah.
Like the story keeps changing for him too. He just says whatever he feels
and as
is
you
necessary.
pointed out, he appropriated this whole idea, right? So like he doesn't have a firm belief structure as to how it operates, other than just something he heard from his lover.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Which they never really made clear either. Like,
I mean, they were definitely snuggling in that one shot, so I'll count it.
mm-hmm. I will too. But I mean, that could also be something he was not comfortable with confirming or not,
mean,
because
and-
Tarka was not a guy who was like, I'm going to talk about the people I care about. You know,
I mean, also Tarka's from Ryza, so him like some male on male cuddling may just be culturally normal for him.
yeah, that's true too.
So,
He
like-
just didn't seem like a super open guy either.
Yeah.
Like he said, he had 2 friends in his life, and Book was one, and Oros was the other. And I'm like, that's really fucking sad, man.
Yeah.
That's really sad. I mean, I'm like, I don't want to feel bad for you, Tarka, but I still like you because you're my kind of bastard. Even though you're trying to destroy the universe.
He's a great super.
I mean, he really is. He really is, because he's just so frustrating. But you're like, well, you know, I get where you're coming from. Even if you knew the guy for 5 minutes, you knew him for 5 minutes, man. Like,
Yeah.
if
Well,
Book was doing this, I would understand more, right? So
Also, how long was Tarka a captive of the Emerald Chain? Like, we don't really know.
Like maybe 5. at
yeah,
least.
well, maybe they were together for a lot longer. I don't. Yeah, it's hard to say. It's hard to say. But I mean, at least Grudge got some credit in this escape that Book had, because I was like, I want a Grudge to be
Yes.
involved. We were really hoping, like Gary was even like, put Grudge on the ship and have her like attack Tarka, you know, something. You know,
Yeah.
he's an empath. He can be like this. The Book can be like, bad man,
Yeah.
trapping daddy, attack. Right, you know, something, right? So at least you know, they got out with the cat collar. It still wasn't Jet Reno who did it, but
Yeah.
I will take it. I mean,
I guess they had to have Jet there to build the communicator out. So, but even then, that wasn't really necessary because the whole Jet subplot, I think it was just there to get more Jet into the show, which I'm always happy for more Jet.
oh yeah,
Yeah,
for sure,
agreed.
for sure.
But like, because really, she served no purpose. Like,
Yeah, you're right.
like when she finally does get to communicate with Discovery, that I'm on the ship. They're here. They had just figured it out themselves.
Yes.
Mm. Hmm.
Like,
It's a little frustrating that Jet Reno didn't get to be super engineer, but I mean, you know, she got some good like conversation about her dead wife in the previous episode, so that was
I
good.
just wonder if maybe it's a
probably the
production
reason
issue.
why. Like, my guess is the reason why it happens this way is a production issue, less than a like, because of COVID.
Availability.
Because of COVID, they weren't sure they could get her.
Mhm.
So they couldn't put a huge plot dependent role for her.
Mhm.
Because they only had her for half the season anyways, and they probably weren't even sure they were gonna get her for that.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
So
I mean, back on Discovery, we'll go back there a little bit, rewind, and talk about that. One of the cool things was I thought was really cool was Trina trying out a mind meld with the 10C.
Oh yeah.
Which worked.
It did, but honestly, it took so long. I was like, why is this?
Yeah,
not, like,
Gary
one of our
was
things?
like,
Guys,
why didn't this happen before? Why was this not an option previously?
Well,
yeah.
I mean, like, she kind of did it earlier, which kind of foreshadowed that she did it well on the ship before they had fully made contact with them.
Mhm.
In the episode prior, so I guess that was foreshadowing for it happening.
I know, but there should have been like dialogue, like we can't do that right now. It could be too dangerous, right? Like just something to explain why we're not exploring that option. Because we're on a timeline, right? Like
we don't know what these. I mean, hours. You can easily fill in the gap yourself, because you can just be like, well, they don't know what these aliens' minds are like. Why would they risk touching them? But you're right. That should have been included in the dialogue somewhere.
right? Yeah.
100%. 100%. So the way that Discovery chooses to break out of the only way that they can figure to break out of the sphere that they're in, put in by the 10C when the 10C is not communicating with them. Well, Trina finds out from the mind meld also that they're just, freaking out and they don't trust them anymore, obviously, because Tarka is a dick.
Well, and they also don't understand, right? Because they think as a multitude and they don't understand individuality.
They think they're still together.
Exactly.
Yes. So they think they're working together. They figure out, Adira and Stamets figure out that the only way to get out is to burn out the spore drive, because if the spore drive can't transport them, the energy has to go somewhere, and that somewhere will punch a hole in the thing, and then they can go after Tarka and Book.
Yeah. So basically, they got rid of the spore drive as a plot device.
They did that, and they almost stranded themselves. We almost thought they were Voyagered, because that was one of our predictions, that they might get Voyagered beyond the galactic barrier.
Aren't they still kind of, though? Because they're out by...
No, they opened the wormhole, remember?
Oh, that's right.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
right.
yeah. So...
Yeah, because Tilly gets brought... Because there was a conversation with Tilly at the end.
Because basically they
forgot.
did, and they did that knowing that they might have to go home by warp, and I was like, oh my god, they're getting Voyagered, like we said. But then when everything gets worked out in the end, they use the DMA's wormhole one more time to send Discovery back to Earth.
That's right. Oh, that's right. The DMA sends them home. That's right.
Yes. So, Ndoye, as predicted, gets redemption.
Yeah.
But does not die by being an awesome pilot, even though Detmer was willing to be an awesome pilot and potentially die. Ndoye instead volunteers to make up for her being, and we figured being a traitor, and we figured this is the reason why she was a traitor in the first place, was to get her to this point so Detmer didn't have to do it. And so she could have redemption for being a traitor. So,
because she had to do a suicide run into Book's ship to stop the whole.
Yeah, to stop them from blowing up the GMA and et cetera, et cetera. So she does it, but they transport her out, so she doesn't die. And Tarka gets redemption. And maybe does die, maybe doesn't die. He decides, we've discussed that. He does maybe unselfish thing and transports.
Maybe we'll find out, maybe we won't.
But Book is being transported, and the transporter signal can't be locked in, and he disappears right in front of Michael. And Sonequa Martin Green does an amazing job of breaking down, getting her shit together, and then going on with the mission. And I'm like, wow, she's an exceptional actor. Like,
she's great. She's fantastic in the show. Like, everyone, like, a lot of toxic Star Trek nerds complain about how much she cries in the show, but like, the show
I would cry. Who wouldn't cry? She pulled her shit together and moved on. That was the thing. Like, I would be still on the deck if Gary disappeared in front of me. I'd be like, okay, I'm just going to bed now.
She's also fantastic at I just mean more like she is fantastic at portraying emotions, right?
Mm-hmm.
She's just a great actress. Like, she's great in the role. And like, this was her season they're all her seasons. She's the main character, but this was really her season to shine.
Yeah, and this is, if you don't like what Discovery does, you don't have to watch it. But Discovery is about emotions. It's about people feeling things and how we all feel the same things. And like, this is a prime example. This episode is a prime example. Like, they've been going connection for like 2 seasons. Yeah. But this episode is a prime example of how Discovery is about feelings and how we all feel the same things, right?
Yeah.
We all feel like even Cloud, aliens, 10C, we all have the same emotions, and we can share those emotions.
Yep.
And share them with one another.
It's a common language.
It's a common language. It was literally the
well-
common freaking language
Yeah.
in this
so-
season was emotion.
Yes.
Yeah.
Like,
so
how
the
much
10C
harder can they hit us over the head with it?
It's true.
Well, the 10C specifically speak through emotion, right? Like that's their whole pheromone thing, is that their pheromones trigger emotions, and then those emotion, like that's their means of communication, is they literally communicate through emotion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How much harder could the writers of Discovery
and
hit
light,
us over
too,
the
right?
head with this, like, feelings are important, our emotions are important.
Yeah. Well, even the light they generate has a different kind of emotional context to it too, right? Like it's
And that was one of the wonderful things is, yeah, a book is saved by the 10C. I mean, it's a little Deus Ex Machina, but whatever. I
well,
cried.
the entire thing, but they're dealing with these people who are basically like wizards, right?
Yeah, they're
Like,
super advanced. They're basically wizards. They're giant
like-
cloud monster wizards.
And like Star Trek is full of godlike entities who can do that sort of shit. It's like you can
Yeah.
do that sort of shit. Like, geez, how many entities in the first series can do that sort of thing?
sure.
But
Like
like,
every other episode is about a godlike being who can
Yeah.
like.
Well, come on, Picard. Picard, how many godlike entities has he ran into?
but they show, like, they have their big thing where they're all like, they explain what humanity, well, not humanity, what the Federation is. They explain what all these different aliens are. They have all these beautiful speeches. Then they explain what love and loss is, and they're like, we understand that. Here's your one back, Michael. Here's the person you love. And then Book, what was amazing to me is Book is like, not only showed, like, they must have planned this so well, because the lights that allow you to decode their language that they were
Yeah.
sharing mimics like what Book has on his head when he shows it, the Qui-Gon,
Yeah, his anima.
his anima kind of thing. And when he showed that, I was like, oh my god, he's showing they're like, oh my god, he's like us, right? Like, you know. And that was really wonderful. But the most wonderful thing is Book was like, no, I demand restorative justice. Like, you guys worked out, you know, okay, you won't do this anymore. You feel bad about it, but feeling bad isn't enough. You have to fix it. You have to fix it and make sure you never do it again. And I was like, this is freaking amazing. I love this show so much, you know, like just everything about it.
Yeah.
That Book was like, no, you killed my people. You took my land. You did that to many people. You have to fix it and make sure it doesn't happen again. Feeling bad is not enough. Actions are more important than that. And I was just, and they were like, oh my god, Book, no. But they understood that, and
Yeah.
I was very touched by that.
And but I mean, so I won't say it's a redemptive moment for Book, because it kind of, but he was right.
No, he was right, and that was the amazing thing. Like, they could have done it where they like left it alone and said, oh, they feel bad, that's good enough, and Book should just accept that. But Book was like, no, they need to do better.
Yeah.
And I think that was a super important message to say, when people have done harm, they need to do better than just say, oh, I'm sorry, we acknowledge that we did harm.
Yeah.
They need to fix the harm.
Yeah. Well, and also, like, so their original response was, we'll make sure that we only mine where civilizations don't inhabit. And it's just like, like, that's not enough, because
Well, yeah,
you clearly
especially for
shown.
Book.
Pardon?
Well, especially for Book, right?
Yeah.
He's like very pro animal environmentalist kind of.
Yeah. Well, and especially like, okay, so you destroy a planet. Like, I mean, I don't think this was necessarily his argument, but my thought would be like, okay, so you destroy a planet that has only simple life. It's just like, well, congratulations, that might have been a civilization 100 million years from now. Like,
Yeah, true.
Yeah. His argument too was it just leaves garbage behind, and it leaves stuff that can harm people, and you can't do that too.
Yeah.
Like, you have to be responsible. And
And
I
mean,
thought that was great.
Well, it's very
The
much
10C is advanced
commentary
enough
and
that-
strip mining.
The 10C is also advanced enough that they can probably find solutions to these problems.
For sure.
I think they just didn't think about it. Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
trade with the Federation.
Yeah.
Yep. So I thought that was, and then Book ends up having to do a similar thing, which we thought Book would have to be punished in some way, and
Well,
Book
he
is
was.
is being punished in a way that works well for him. I think. I think he is being punished more from his punishment is more being away from Michael than his actual work. I don't think he considers like helping refugees like a big issue.
What surprised me is more that they're taking away from Michael, which means they might be taking him off the show.
I really hope not.
Or yeah, that's more what surprised me. I mean, who knows where season 4 is season 5 is going.
Mhm.
Like it might be set after he has paid his penance.
Yep.
They might just contrive a different way to get him onto the show, or they might do a season without him. Like,
Mhm.
Well, there's always a crisis.
Yeah.
Yeah, especially Discovery. Like Discovery is all about crises.
Yeah. I would imagine that they might jump forward to when he's done whatever he needs to do for the Federation.
Well, they weren't shy about that this season.
Certainly. No, they've never been shy about jumping forward in time, that's for sure.
Yes.
So another great thing, Tilly and Vance, we were talking a little bit about that with the Starfleet, what did you call
Starport?
it? Starport ship / Starfleet starport that moves around very quickly.
The station that broke up into multiple ships.
Yeah, that was amazing. We were talking about that too. How it was kind of modular, like book ship, but for more purpose than just kind of like flying around stuff and being like sneaky and fast, which I thought was super cool. And we had our Orion and other dude back from the Tilly's the cadets from Tilly's ice planet training mission, who almost tried to kill each other, and they were helping evacuate Earth, which was pretty cool to see those guys again.
That was a good bit. I like that bit.
They seem to be getting along too, so maybe they're friends now, or at least not hating each other, which would be kind of nice.
There's also a good nod to any of the times Star Trek has had like cadets have to step up into the role to help kind of fill during a crisis.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. But it was nice to see Tilly, and it was nice to see Tilly going like, my kids don't die, not on my watch. And, sticking it out with Vance and not letting him, and more people who almost died but didn't. So, I was a little worried. I was like, don't kill Tilly, guys.
I was, so the second Tilly stayed, I was like, okay. Like, I could see
Vance is fine. Vance. He's going to see his daughter again.
Yeah, I could see them killing Vance because they killed off the other general in season 2. I forget her name, but the second Tilly was there. I'm like, okay, they're not going to kill Tilly. Vance is going to be fine.
Yeah. And in the finale, 2 awesome things. Saru and Trina held hands. It's like watching a Jane Austen novel. It's amazing.
Yeah, their romance has been really adorable. I really enjoy it.
They were like, I would not mind hanging out with you. Well, I would not mind hanging out with you. Well, we will hold hands now, and we will just sit in silence, and that will be fine.
Their romance is great. I'm really liking what they're doing. Like I said, I was upset at the start of the season that Saru wasn't captain anymore, because it just felt like,
almost felt like it was pushed aside. Yeah,
it felt like it was pushed aside, and felt almost like human chauvinism.
Yeah.
Like,
anti-Kelpian bias, right?
Yeah, within the context of Discovery, it felt like human chauvinism. So, but both Saru and Michael are so much stronger in their current roles than they were when it was the other way around. That like I got no complaints.
they seem very happy and very well suited to each other, and just them even just like that screaming thing they did. It was just so wonderful. Like I love them as friends, and they're just really great, and I hope they're together forever. honestly, and I loved Michael giving Saru advice about Vulcans actually in the last episode.
Yeah.
Gary mentioned that, like just being like, "Hey, Vulcans are like this. They don't, express their emotions,
So sometimes you have to be direct with them just to know how they are.
Or sometimes
feeling.
they're really short with you in public because they're going to be hard on you because they care about you, but they can't show that in front of people, So I see Michael being like a Vulcan translator.
Yeah.
I also, it was a good way of including her Vulcan, the fact that she grew up on Vulcan, without making it like a big deal.
Yeah.
Like with previous seasons, the fact that she was a human who was raised on Vulcan was maybe a bit too central.
Mm-hmm.
This is a good way. Like this was a good balance of like acknowledging it, not ignoring it, but also not making it like a thing.
Michael was Vulcan, or was raised on Vulcan, so that's why she acts the way she does. It's just like exactly. Michael has Vulcan knowledge. She knows about Vulcans. It's her thing.
So I really enjoyed their like romantic subplot. I thought it was excellent.
Yes,
and I really like Saru. Saru makes a good ambassador. I really like him in an ambassadorial role.
Yep.
Yeah. And in the end, the Federation is rejoined by Earth with Stacey Abrams, former senator and Star Trek superfan, playing the president, which I thought was pretty cool. They were all pretty hyped, apparently. I would have been hyped if I were Stacey Abrams.
I'm not overly familiar with Stacey Abrams as a politician, but my God, was it heartwarming to watch Ted Cruz melt the fuck down over it.
She's done a lot of good for voting rights in Georgia. So she's a good woman.
Like I'm passively familiar with her. Like I'm not completely ignorant on who she is, but like I mean ultimately she's just a politician to me. Like she's a liberal.
Mostly I know she's a massive Star Trek fan, so I was like, hey, that's really nice for you. I know you're a huge Star Trek fan, and that would be really exciting for me if I were in the position where someone was like, would you like to play a politician on Star Trek since you are a politician in real life? So
like I said, I have no qualms. Her appearance on the show, I'm largely agnostic on. Like I'm not against it. I'm not for it. Like I think it's cool for her. Like it's dope for her. Like once again, like she's a massive fan. So her having a prominent role is like good for her. Like I'm happy for her as a fan.
That's kind of where I was. I would have been like, oh look, she's with Michael Burnham. That would be super cool for me. As like if I were a black woman, I would want to be with the first black woman captain. That would be pretty cool.
My takeaway was just Ted Cruz flip the fuck out.
Yeah, totally.
That's all I need. I just need more things. I just need more things that annoy or anger Ted Cruz in the world. Like,
so I mean, I thought it was a really good finale in that a lot happened. It was pretty packed, and I was just like, sort of like. It was very Discovery because it was like, yay, everyone's happy. Discovery saves the day. Everything's great. Vance goes off with his family and gets to spend time with them. We're all together and drinking. Yay.
What I really liked is they didn't rely on the usual Star Trek shorthand. Like, we didn't really talk about it much, but like communication with the 10C, they didn't just pull out the universal translator and talk to them. Like they had to find workarounds. Like there was a whole plot point. Like I liked that. I liked seeing that. I liked that.
They had to science it. They had to science it out.
Yeah, Prodigy had a similar plot point as well. In its run, and like I like it when they do that. I like it when communication between species, as communications between people, is not always easy.
Yeah. No, and I think that was part of the point too, is that, you know, there's been a lot of that, and even Saru and Tarina has been an example of that over the 2 seasons.
Yeah.
How they have really, like, this is the slowest burn relationship I think I've ever seen in a TV show. But
except for maybe moonlighting.
except for maybe moonlighting or something, but even so, but like, it's just been infinitesimal, and partially because of figuring out how to communicate with one another, and about their, again, as you always mention, Green, about their trauma.
Yeah.
And about their well, even maybe not trauma. I don't know about Trina. We don't know enough about her, but about her issues with being close to people, which could come from trauma. It could come from just her experiences, but yeah.
Could also just come from being a Vulcan.
Mm-hmm. Or it could just come from being a Vulcan, because Vulcans are not comfortable with that. That's not what they do.
Like I said, my big thing is that, like, so often in TV, once you pass 35, you don't get romance anymore. Like, older characters, unless it's the Golden Girls, older characters don't get romance subplots. So I just love seeing, like, an older couple, like, get, like, a really nice, heartfelt romance plot.
That's changing a bit. I'm seeing that in Yellowstone, but I don't like. I don't know if I like Yellowstone. Yeah,
I've not watched Yellowstone. I've heard it's very anti-native.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, basically, the native people are evil, and you know, I'm sort of at the point where I was like, at first, I'm like, I'm going to reserve judgment, and then I'm like, pretty much the native chief chairman dude is the evil guy.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's actually worse than Longmire for that.
Yeah.
Longmire, at least it felt a little more complicated, and the guy you thought was the villain wasn't really a villain.
Mm-hmm.
I've never even heard of Longmire. I can't comment on that.
Longmire was on A&E. It was it actually had Katie Sackhoff on it for a while. Starbuck from Battlestar Galactica.
Another show I have not seen. I watch very little TV.
Longmire, Gary really liked it. It had Lou Diamond Phillips was on it too. It was a little more balanced, I would say.
I felt like it.
Yellowstone is a little. I'm just like, this is the, like, yeah, I see why they call this Red State Succession, but there's a lot of evil native people in this, and that seems kind of fucked up, y'all. Anyway, so Discovery, thumbs up on the finale. Where it's gonna go, they really don't leave us any clues whatsoever.
Yeah, well, the only time we really got a clue, like, season 2 to season 3, it was obvious that was going to follow into, like, we're 900 years in the future. What the fuck do we do? But
yeah,
other than that, they haven't really had much of a like. Each season has been pretty self-contained, other than, like, that one transition.
Yeah, they have been. That's what I meant by they kind of wrap up into a bow, and there's not a lot of threads that kind of transfer from one to the other.
And with season and that transition between season 2 and 3, there was no way to not do that.
Yeah,
like, it would have been so jarring if they just jumped, like. I mean, I might have been down for it but I think a lot of people would have found it really jarring if they had just been like, so we've been in the future for 10 years and everything's fine.
Yeah, exactly. It's all good, guys. Everything's fine. It's cool. Oh my goodness, everything's loud all of a sudden. I'm gonna turn that quiet. Shh.
I was just gonna say the only other thing I can think of that was a bit of a transition between seasons was the burn.
Oh, the burn, yeah.
But the burn was wrapped up pretty strongly.
I mean, there was a little bit. There were the bits and pieces with the Kelbian dude and everything. So,
yeah.
But he got other than facilitating Saru becoming an ambassador. That's not really a plot line that went anywhere.
No, he was around, and then they just sort of dropped him, eh?
Well, like 2 episodes, he was around.
Yeah,
like
and he mentioned him. Saru mentioned him to Trina.
Saru talks about him, like he's not, but there's no plot there. Like, he's the reason Saru goes and becomes a diplomat and steps away from the captain, which vacates the chair from Michael.
Yeah.
Well,
that's what I mean. It's more of a lubricant between the 2 seasons.
It's too bad. I mean, I thought there was some stuff that they might be able to do with him,
Right.
but turns out he was just a bit of a plot device, eh?
Yeah, I guess between season 1 and 2, they did end with a teaser of season 2 because they did have the Enterprise show up in the last scene of season 1.
Mm-hmm.
So they
Well,
like.
Mm-hmm.
I guess that did happen. So I mean, maybe there were more clues than usual this time because they go anywhere.
Yeah,
Like,
we got nothing, but hopefully a little more Tilly, and a little more Starfleet Academy, etc.
Well,
and we'll see how that goes.
we'll see what's happening with that Starfleet Academy spinoff because
It's looking more and more that it might be set in the future, eh?
it's looking more and more like this Tilly plotline might be it.
Yeah, no, I would love to see that. I don't care when it's set. I mean, set in the future has a lot more. I feel like it has a lot more room to breathe.
Yeah,
because there's not all of the canon things that are set about the San Francisco Starfleet Academy, right?
I also feel that Star Trek should always be moving forward, just like on a thematic level. Like, I'm not a fan of prequels in general, but I feel Star Trek especially should be avoiding prequels. Like, it's one thing for something like Strange New Worlds to do sort of a prequel throwback thing because it's not the pilot show.
And
Discovery is the face of new Star Trek.
And actually, actually, I was just thinking there's nothing to stop them now that Earth has rejoined the Federation from having Starfleet Academy in San Francisco.
Yeah, absolutely nothing.
Yeah, they could do that. Like, they don't need to have the Academy on the spaceport, right? Like, they can start rebuilding that if they want to. I mean, there's nothing that says they can't have it on Navarre or something like that either. I mean, there might be an argument for that. But still, if you wanted to have like the traditional San Francisco Starfleet Academy, you could totally do that.
We haven't had a Star Trek show set on Earth. Like, Enterprise comes close because it probably involves Earth the most, but it's not set on Earth. It's still Strange New Worlds. So that, like a Star Trek show set. I mean, we haven't had a Star Trek show set on a planet. Period.
Well, that's actually a good segue because there is a Star Trek show sort of set on Earth right now, and that is Picard.
Yeah, sure. I mean, we'll see how much Picard stays in the.
We'll see. Action was Earth.
Yeah, we'll see how much Picard. We'll see if the whole season focuses on this, or if this is just a portion. Because I also have no fucking clue where Picard's going.
But you're right. We are moving towards the crisis event very quickly. Like,
yes.
How many episodes are in this season?
There are 10 episodes in the season, and right now we were talking about episode 3 and 4. Okay. So episode 3 and 4 are both directed by Leah Thompson, who is best known for Back to the Future, Marty's mom. Which is pretty cool. Yeah. I meant to tell you that, but I thought I'd give you surprise you.
Definitely, I knew about this, but like that was the joke, was that like of course Leah Thompson wouldn't make a Star Trek show about time travel.
She's the expert.
She is the expert.
She's the expert in time travel. So first episode for Picard we're going to talk about is Assimilation today. So it is the one where we were immediately proven wrong.
Boy, that'd be a long prediction, yeah.
7 distracts the magistrate long enough for the group to overpower him and kill his officers. The ship comes under attack, and the Queen takes advantage of the situation to directly connect herself to the ship's computers. She destroys their pursuers and slingshots the ship around the sun, creating a wormhole to 2024 Los Angeles, where Picard and his crew must find the Watcher, who knows what Q changed to cause the new timeline. The ship crashes, and the Queen diverts all power, including from medical bay, to sustain herself. Elnor dies of his wounds, and Raffi angularly blames Picard before departing with 7 and Rios to start searching for the Watcher. Rios' transporter malfunctions, and he's knocked out by transporting in midair and getting like a freaking fire escape in the face. And waking up in a clinic that secretly treats undocumented immigrants. Before he can leave, immigration officers raid the clinic and arrest both Rios and his physician, Teresa. Oh, he could have left, but he went back because he's a dumbass. And he's a white knight.
He didn't even have a good plan. Like I thought. I'm like he didn't even have a good plan to
No, he liked the hot doctor and her cute kid. That's what was going
Yeah.
on there.
Also, like the magistrate was killed with those officers. Like, just
Yeah.
be clear, the way that sounded, like he was overpowered and his minions were killed.
No, okay. And then Rios's communicator is left behind because the kids he dropped it like Agnes said he would. And despite Picard's warnings, Agnes connects her mind to the Queen and learns the exact location of a Watcher before she can be assimilated, impressing the Queen. Okay, this is understated as well because Agnes is a badass and everyone can shut the fuck up about Agnes. I would just like to say. No, other people, Star Trek nerds or something, complain about Agnes. Agnes is freaking amazing.
Complain about everything.
I know they are. I'm just saying, Agnes is amazing. She stole the location of the Watcher from the Borg Queen without the Borg Queen knowing, and the Borg Queen couldn't remember it. Damn, Agnes. Oh my god. What a badass. And didn't get assimilated. She's a little twitchy, maybe, but didn't get assimilated.
Well, I mean, she was always the character who was the awkward genius. Like this is all keeping with how she was originally conceived.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay, so yeah, with the magistrate, obviously we were incorrect about him going back in time and being an antagonist.
I figured he was going to be the antagonist because it makes sense to me to be like he would want to preserve his reality.
Nope, he got disintegrated. Oops! Immediately.
Yeah, like
just
there was
iced.
No plot there. He would disintegrate within the first 3 minutes of the episode.
Bam! And then they went back in time. Bam! Done.
Like that was clearly they clearly just did that so they could have the tension of a cliffhanger ending because none of that went anywhere.
I know, it was like I can't even believe how fast this happened. So that went down. And then Elnor. Isn't Elnor really dead?
Elnor is really dead. He's just not going to stay that way.
Well, that's what I mean. That's what I mean. Is Elnor going to stay dead?
No,
probably not.
Not.
When they go back to the present, he's going to be alive again because that's the way it works with these timelines. He died in the past, and then when they go back to the future or something, he's going to be alive again. Or
that may not be how he gets brought back. Maybe Q feels bad and brings him back. Who knows? But he ain't staying dead.
No.
That doesn't. I mean, it was very shocking and everything, but and it allowed, which was interesting, Raffi to yell at Picard, which is nice because not everyone yells at Picard.
It's true.
So it's a nice change.
It's always nice when someone yells at Picard. Like everyone was obsessed with that one general in season 1 who yelled at him too.
I like when people yell at Picard. Raffi's like, it's your fault, and everyone dies, and I got sucked into your game with Q, and he's like, I don't play with Q. It's like, well, why are you still messing with him then? It's a good question.
It's not like Q gave him a choice.
No, Q never really gives him a choice, but I mean, I can see where people from the outside might think that there was options involved in this. So,
like, I don't know why Picard wasn't just like, Raffi, he's a godlike being.
Raffi was not listening to reason. Raffi is not.
That's Raffi's arc the whole time.
Yes, Raffi's not about that. Understandably, I mean, she's displacing a lot of things. Raffi's a lot about displacing emotions. I feel like, obviously, I saw a comment that they were like, oh, obviously, Raffi and Elnor's closeness is off screen, and they haven't filled this in. And I'm like, no, Raffi is displacing her.
Surrogates.
Her love for her son onto Elnor partially. I'm sure they get along well and they've developed a relationship, but
Right. I forgot Raffi had
an estranged
family.
Yeah, so this is so
she's has a baby
and won't see her. So she's like, this is my boy.
Oh man.
I am going to adopt him as my child, and that's why
I should rewatch.
Yeah, no. Raffi is totally displacing. She displaced her love for her child onto Elnor, and then when Elnor died, it's like losing her kid again. So that's why she was so fucking pissed at Picard.
Yeah.
And Picard takes everything. He took her kid away from her. because that's why she was so messed up and crazy. And that's why her kid left, because she was all paranoid and had like, conspiracy theories and smoked too much weed. And now Picard got her surrogate son killed.
Well, and I found it strange Picard wasn't as upset when Eleanor died, right? Like he was.
I think he's upset, but Picard just has had a lot of people die, and he's kind of in a situation where he's like, I need to deal with this, and then I'll worry about everything else, I think.
Picard being a former starship captain, like I'm surprised they didn't deal with this more head on, but Picard being really good at compartmentalizing his emotions makes perfect sense to me. It was actually like part of what made season 1 feel so weird to me, because he didn't do that in season 1.
And I think that's part of the problem. That's what Laris, like, he can't always get in touch with his emotions.
Yeah.
And I think that's part of the problem, right?
Although, like Picard getting involved with like a married couple, and then like that the husband dies, and then he has
it's like the Crushers, right? It's like, didn't you learn the first time not to do this?
Isn't that a like Jane Austen move?
It might be, but it's totally what happened with Beverly Crusher.
I have to say,
it had a son.
Well, and he was the commanding officer of her husband.
Yes, he was.
Ordered him into the.
It was the Stargazer. It was the USS Stargazer. It was Chris Rios's ship. Like, that's the crazy thing. So he put Chris Rios on fucking Crusher's ship.
Yeah. Going back to like TNG for like 2 seconds, if I may. I hated Picard and Crusher as a couple, but I really liked Picard and Crusher as divorcees.
I liked them as like sort of. We never kind of, nothing ever happened, but we knew it was a bad idea sort of situation, like I enjoyed that. But Crusher is an example of another person that he just never involved himself with,
Well, if you remember All Good Things, the series finale of TNG, Picard's like bouncing all through time, and Beverly Crusher is the captain of her own ship, and he ends up like sort of strong-arming her into helping, like old Picard, and strong-arming her into helping him, like he so often does, like he's been doing all of Picard, and it's like it's revealed that they got married and it didn't work out, and I liked that dynamic. I thought it was a good dynamic for those two characters.
It makes a lot of sense. I'm wondering how Rios got transported so badly. My first thought was Agnes did it on purpose, but Gary was like, no, she's not that mean.
Borg Queen.
Borg Queen? Do you think the Borg Queen did it?
I don't think it'll get answered, but like I think if you want a fan theory, Borg Queen.
Yeah. No, I do like the character that Rios has met, like the doctor and the kid and everything. I'm not sure where they're going with this, other than like I think they're just trying to get Chris into, like, one of the things I read about the next episode is he was sent to a sanctuary district. So I think that's I think they're trying to get Chris in there, and because he is the most obvious, like most likely.
Maybe they'll CGI Cisco into the background somewhere.
Possibly. But I figured because he's the most likely person to be mistaken for an illegal immigrant because he doesn't have papers, he got knocked out, or, because he's Hispanic, they potentially use this plot to get someone into the sanctuary district because of the crew, he might be more likely to be picked up by ICE or similar. So
the Doctor, I get some like real Gillian Taylor vibes from. Gillian Taylor was the marine biologist from Star Trek 4.
Oh yeah. Okay.
So like, I would not be like, and that movie ended with her being brought into the future.
Interesting. Like, yeah, that's what I was wondering too about that, because like I got this real vibe that I'm like, Rios likes her and he's gonna be like, come bring your child to the future, We will care for him.
No, not even just the future. An alternate
An
timeline.
alternate timeline. It will be better there.
It's not an alternate timeline yet. Whatever splits the timeline, it hasn't happened yet. But
No,
yeah,
sure.
like
Yes.
but
You have a good
so
point.
so in Star Trek 4, like Kirk has this contemporary love interest who's from like the 1980s. It's also there's another I'm sure everyone caught it, but there's also another Star Trek 4 Easter egg in this episode.
Is it in
But
this episode or the
No, it's
episode
the next
after?
it's in episode 3.
Mhm.
But she gives me like, so I'm wondering if like Kirk falls in love with this marine biologist from 1986,
Mhm.
and at the end of the movie she gets brought into the future with them and completely dropped from all subsequent sequels.
Oh my god.
Never to be mentioned again.
She
but,
just
like,
went into the future and that's fine.
Yeah.
She was taking care of the whales.
She's taking care of the whales. That's her job.
That's her job.
She can't fly around on the Enterprise. Come on.
It'd be nice if they mentioned her though.
For sure.
If Jim could just say, "Yeah, she's taking care of the whales. She can come with us." So
Yeah, like how's the girlfriend doing, Kirk?
she's taking care of the whales.
Even in Thor, like Jane Foster at least got a Jane dumped me or I jumped in
Yes.
reference.
She didn't dump
Like,
me. Yeah, exactly. Right.
so-
Totally. Speaking of the next episode, the Easter egg you're talking about, that's actually the same actor from the Star Trek 4 movie, playing an updated version of the same song that on the bus, the I hate you or I hate everything or whatever the song is. Same punk guy. This
So-
time, however, when Seven tells him to shut the noise off, he is like, I'm sorry, I just really like that song, okay? You know? Like, he's very offended. I
I
guess
just
he
don't
didn't.
know why he's carrying a boombox in 2024.
He likes to
Classic
share.
retro.
He's trying to share his music with everyone. He wants them to buy it from him.
So there's an interesting story of that song. That song was made by one of the producers of Star Trek who didn't know anything about punk rock
Oh my god.
and just was like just got a band together. Like he played he played in a band but wasn't a punk band. And so they just put together this quick sample of what they thought punk sounded like.
Oh my god.
Which is not too bad, really, to be honest.
As someone who listens to a lot of punk, you know, it actually really did nail that particular like.
It's not too bad at all. It's not too bad at all.
It sounds like it could be. It sounds like it could be a Sex Pistols knockoff band.
Mhm.
Like
Nice.
now, most British punk do not actually sound like the Sex Pistols, but you know, some did.
Apparently, that dude was also in Spider-Man: Homecoming. I don't know where or when, but apparently, same character, same actor.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, which I thought was interesting too. I'll have to
I-
look it up.
Yeah, I'm not going to rewatch Star Trek Spider-Man: Homecoming for that Easter egg, but it's interesting. I may even have caught it at the time. Well, I watched a lot of Marvel movies. My memory for them tends to be pretty slim.
Yeah. So, well, I mean, they're very similar, so they all kind of blur together sometimes.
Who is the villain of that one?
Homecoming
Oh, it's the Vulture.
is
That's the Vulture.
Vulture.
Vulture,
yeah, it's
yeah.
Vulture. Yeah,
I
yeah.
love that. I
Yeah,
love the
he was good.
whole redo on him.
It's very good in Dope Sick.
Oh,
Michael
Michael
Keaton.
Keaton?
Yeah, Michael
great.
Keaton. Very good in Dope Sick.
Birdman too.
Yeah, and I should
And
watch
come
that
back to
again.
Batman.
Yeah, he's
Oh,
going
for
back
sure,
to Batman.
yeah.
That's why I would like to watch Birdman again, because
The
he's going
best
back to
Batman.
Batman. Yeah.
Or at least
He's
the
going back
best
to-
Bruce Wayne.
He's going to be playing Batman in the new Flash movie.
Mhm. Yeah,
Okay.
because it's like
I
alternate
might
crisis on alternate
watch.
Earths kind of thing.
I don't watch the DC movies, and nothing against DC. I just don't get around to them, and some of them are quite good. Like, I mean, the Snyder stuff, I get a whole separate thing. Snyder seems like a decent dude. Like, I don't think against him personally, but he does not make movies that interest me.
He is a decent guy. He made a better Justice League than Joss Whedon. I'll say that. And
you're
I am
gonna
not
watch
a
one-
Zack Snyder fan. I am not like Sucker Punch
Yeah,
is the worst movie ever freaking made. I know he tries to be a feminist, but he is not a feminist. He's not.
We can
Not-
do an entire sub. I don't actually hate Sucker Punch, but we can do an entire stream about Sucker Punch. It's
It made me so angry. So
Anyways.
angry.
His
It's-
Justice League much better than Josh's.
Josh,
But
Josh, yes,
I-
it's
I-
just
4
Joe.
hours.
Joe, your Justice League is terrible. Yeah, but it's 4 hours. It's
I-
4
I
hours. You
have-
keep going. Is this movie still going on?
Or
Wonder Woman just showed
yeah, I
up.
know that's it, right?
I'm
You're
gonna be
"Oh my
honest,
God,
I-
she just showed up.
I haven't seen either version.
Yeah,
I
don't
don't like-
don't watch.
I don't like my nerd confession, and I mean this is not actually that big a deal now, but it would have been a huge deal 10 years ago. I don't like Joss Whedon. I've never liked Joss Whedon.
I've never liked Joss Whedon.
I never got into Buffy. I watched Buffy for the first 3 seasons and dropped off of it. I never seen Angel. I watched Firefly years after it was canceled because an ex basically forced me to.
I hate Firefly
uh,
so much.
I-
So much.
hate's the wrong word. I don't hate it, but I thought it was
Oh no, Nicole hates it.
I thought it was mostly just boring, and I'm like, oh, this is Southern apology. This is
I
Southern
hated it
apology.
before I found out that, and then I realized that the browncoats were the Confederacy. Someone
Yeah.
told me that, and I'm like,
I picked up on the Confederation apology right away. I was like,
Oh, we had like watching it critiques from like top to bottom. There
I
were
was
so
just,
many
okay. We
problems
can't
with
go
it.
on too much about this, but I was just like, where are the
Yeah,
Chinese people? If there are Chinese people everywhere and they've taken over the world, where the fuck are they? That was my main thing. Where are they?
yeah. Either way, I
Where
don't-
are they? Okay,
I
all right,
like
Rios.
Avengers. It's the only Avengers is the only thing I've seen from Joss Whedon that I liked. We'll just say that.
The rumor is he didn't have a lot to do with it. So there you go.
That is the rumor. And Age
Um,
of Ultron is terrible, so kind of gives hints.
yes. Joss Whedon has issues. Anyways, Rios, Agnes said he was going to lose things because he's like a kid with a string who needs a string tied to his mittens. He lost his communicator. He and then he decided to make up the worst excuse ever to try and intimidate ICE officers. And in the next episode, he manages to get himself tased. He is. I'm like, just like Chris Rios. Can you stop getting yourself into trouble for 5 minutes and then tells everyone that he's from the future?
I mean, to be fair, I think that was fine. I think that was fine. Like I thought him being like, "Oh, here's my actual story," because no one's gonna believe it anyways. So I think him just saying that was great. I also, as an aside, I fucking love that they just used ice.
No, it's
Like,
great. It's really wonderful. Yeah.
I would, if you had asked me, I would have said they would have created some sort of like, and now like fire, like some sort of analogy for ice. Like I'm surprised that I'm shocked and pleased that they just straight up had it be ice.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, before we move on to the next episode, because we're getting into there, I would just like to point out Agnes did impress the queen, which the board queen was like, that is both difficult and terrifying, because I guess you have now the undivided attention of the board queen.
Yeah. She wants to assimilate you.
Yes. But she's also likes her and is impressed by her and knows a lot about her. However,
Maybe
Agnes
some amount of her individuality.
Agnes does not seem bothered though, which again makes me think Agnes
Agnes
is
seems
a badass. Yes.
Agnes, if anything, so this is where I'm wondering where they're going with Agnes. Agnes, if anything, seems tempted by the Borg Queen, which is concerning.
Mm-hmm. But I wouldn't be surprised. Like, I feel like Agnes is gonna hack the Borg Queen and take her over or some shit.
Yeah. Like Agnes
Like-
is gonna be fine. I'm not worried about Agnes's fate.
Agnes might become the Borg Queen. So I think
That's
everyone
true.
should be really concerned that when they go back to the future, Agnes is gonna take over the Borg.
So yes, Agnes being villain of season 3, I think is entirely possible.
Because I would do that. I feel a lot of affinity with Agnes. I understand, and I can see being like, if I could just assimilate you and then just run everything. That would solve some of our Borg problems, wouldn't it?
Yep.
All right, so episode 4 is The Watcher, in which Chris Rios cannot stop himself from getting punched and or tased. Oh, and we find out why Raffi does not need a gun.
We also have not mentioned Guinan.
Oh, yes, Guinan is in this episode.
Yeah, this is where she shows up.
In which we see find out why Raffi did not need the gun from the guy who attacked her in the previous episode. Gary and I were like, why didn't she keep the gun? We find out why. Picard and Agnes learn from Agnes's connection to the Queen that the change in the timeline they must prevent to avoid the dark future of the Confederation will happen in 3 days' time on April 15th, 2024. Picard transports to the location Agnes learned from the Queen and finds a younger version of Guinan who does not know him and is planning to leave Earth after growing disillusioned with humanity. Aren't we all, Guinan? Seven and Raffi search for Rios, who is processed by ICE and sent to a sanctuary district on the U.S. border. They are able to track the bus that Rios is on with the help of Agnes, who tricks the Queen into improving La Serena's transporter systems. And they're about to fast and furious Rios out of that bus, potentially. After Picard reveals his name and explains he's looking for a watcher, Guinan leads him to someone who is also known as a supervisor, that is acting as a guardian angel for someone on Earth. This person resembles a human version of Laris, who teleports away with Picard. Teleports, goes through a door.
Smoke door, yeah.
Smoke door. Meanwhile, Q approaches a woman who is working on the planned Europa spaceflight mission. He is surprised to discover that he's unable to change her destiny or use his powers. No snappy. Okay. So, is Laris Q?
No.
Is that Laris?
I mean, I hadn't considered that. I don't think so. But that'd be a great plot twist.
That was mine. But Gary thinks all Q like blip in and out, and they don't go through doorways.
No, they usually have like the snap, right? Like there's the flash of light.
If I were to say if Laris was anything, and I don't think it's this either, a Guardian of Forever.
The doorway.
Right? Yeah.
And we saw that doorway.
Discovery.
And it was very similar, wasn't it? In Discovery? Similar look?
Well, the Discovery one was an updated version of the original Guardian of Forever.
It was more circular, but the stuff in it, like the way it looked through the doorway, looked similar, I think.
I don't remember.
I don't remember either, but it would be the Guardian kind of thing would work.
Well, I'll post. I can find. I've like doing Google. It was just here. I'll throw up a link to what it looked like. It was just like a big swirling mist thing. Not quite the same as what we saw, but I mean,
it looked more like a storm, right?
Yeah, there's no guarantee that. I'll throw in the regular comments. Oh, I can't add to the discussion. Won't get comments. Okay, I'll private chat. It is.
Okay. So that would be interesting. I'll have to see.
Like I don't think it's this, but I would put this above Q.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, Q doesn't seem to fit. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is actually like Laris. Like,
yeah, that was the other thing. Is it actually Laris? Is the question, right?
I wonder if they're doing the contact thing where it's like, oh, I appear in a form that you might find appealing.
Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Or non-threatening.
Yeah.
All right, here we go.
Especially after I kidnap you and take you through a smoke door.
Oh, there's two Guardians of the Guardian of Forever in Discovery appears twice. Once it appears like it does in the original series.
But there's the circular one.
But there's another appearance where it's just a normal door.
All right, and here is, let's look at normal door. Oh, that was That was literally just a door.
Yep. But
That
that's what
the Empress walked through.
Yeah.
Or the Emperor. I'm sorry. I'm sorry, Emperor.
Oh, yeah.
Please don't kill me. So we have those two. Interesting. Neither of which really looked like the one that Laris pulled Picard through.
No, I mean,
but it was door shaped.
Yeah, and it was so me being an animation nerd and having an animation background. Well, I have an illustration background, but I took illustration at animation school. So me having that background, I noticed they were very particular with how they animated the store. So it was the way they ran the particle effect. The particle effect, usually when you would do a particle effect in a scene like that, you would have the particle effect go everywhere. So you'd have the smoke like appear and then go all the ground and then like maybe dissolve.
Yeah, but it didn't come out, right?
That's not how they animated. And it didn't just not come out. The smoke formed a square.
Yes.
So the smoke
was door shaped.
Filled, it wasn't just door shaped. The smoke filled like a transparent square volume and never went past the borders of it.
Oh, okay, like a cube.
Yeah. It was really. I noticed it instantly. I was like, that animation choice is not an accident. I have no idea why they chose it. I have no idea why they ran the particle effect that way. No clue whatsoever. But like, I'm like, that's not an accident. They did that on purpose. I just don't know what it means.
Mm-hmm. No, it is interesting. I don't know what it means. The only reason I was wondering about Laris being Q is the other option is it more evidence that Q is ill? Because Q isn't able to do his snappy thing.
Well, Q's also not the only Q. I mean, theoretically, it could be a different Q, but
well, that was the thing too. And like, if Laris is another Q, other Q can interfere with Q using their powers, or Q is potentially ill.
But
and we know other Qs can strip Q's
have
other powers.
It's snap fingers, flash of light.
Mm-hmm.
The other Q that we've seen, they've operated the same way.
Mm-hmm.
Also, someone invited me to their Star Trek adventure games because I want to play a Q that's been made human.
That's interesting.
That's my Star Trek concept pitch. Invite me to your game so I can play that.
So, nice. The Watcher again is Guinan says. Guinan puts it, and we will talk about Guinan, is a supervisor who is part of a group assigned to protect the destinies of certain individuals. So this Watcher knows who the person being protected is, I assume, or who the person who can change history might be, or similar. I assume that's what's happening.
The Guardian has some knowledge. We don't know why.
Mm-hmm.
We don't know what the Guardian's relationship to Q is. We don't know what the Guardian's relationship to for all we know, the Guardian could be part of the Federation's time police. Like, I'm not putting that forward as an actual suggestion. I would be very surprised if that was actually the case. We have so little to go on that it's as plausible as anything else.
Mm-hmm. So, go on.
Oh, I was just gonna say, like, because we kind of sped past Guinan, but I found it kind of interesting that they used her species' time sickness as a way for Picard to convince her to help him.
Okay, well, let's get to that. Let's get back to the beginning and talk about that. So, the one thing with Picard's plot basically is he's anxious about leaving Agnes alone with the Borg Queen, but uses the coordinates that she got to transport to the location, and the location he goes to is in front of number 10 Forward Street in San Francisco, I assume, which is the location of 10 Forward, where he finds a young Guinan.
Which also answers a question that we had a long time ago, back when we were covering Lower Decks.
Mm-hmm.
Because we were
are they all called 10 Forward?
Yeah.
Are they called different things? Well, I guess they're called different things because apparently 10 Forward is named after her bar.
Yep.
And this is a different Guinan, a younger looking Guinan.
Different actress. And some nerds had a very bad response to that, to which I say, grow the fuck up.
Well, it's a different. It is an alternate timeline at this point in time, and she can choose to age differently. It could be a different person, like somewhat even. So it's hard to say.
I don't think we mentioned it when we did episode 1, but we did get a cameo by Whoopi Goldberg playing Guinan in episode 1.
Yes, we talked about that. Yeah.
I couldn't remember if we talked about it or not.
But her species does choose to age, depending on different circumstances.
So I don't have a lot of predictions on where Picard is going, but I do think we'll finally get an explanation of what the deal between Guinan's race and Q's race is, because we know there's some sort of they don't like each other. We don't know why. It has thus far never been explained.
Well,
so I do think by the time this episode the season of Picard is over, we will have an explanation.
That was another reason I thought that Laris might be Q, is because the Watcher didn't like Guinan.
Yeah, true.
But I mean, the Watcher doesn't seem to like anybody. So
yeah, the Watcher seems like a dick.
So Guinan at her bar was really interesting. I really liked all of her dialogue and her speeches. Probably because Guinan said a lot of things that I am thinking about the world these days. So I thought it was pretty great. Guinan is disillusioned with humanity, as the synopsis said, but also she's just sort of like everybody's trying to, think there's not enough and trying to kill each other for it, and she's pretty depressed about it. And I'm like, yeah, I get that.
So there's been a lot of references and a lot of name drops to previous Star Trek episodes, more than I could count. I know I missed a bunch of them. But there is a episode of TNG called Who Watches the Watcher?
Oh, interesting.
And now I'm wondering if there might be, I mean, I don't want to get down into like a fan theory live on stream. But I'm wondering if there's a connection. I'm wondering if I were to rewatch that episode, if I would, I'm
thinking there's a lot from yesterday's Enterprise, and I'm thinking I might need to rewatch that soon, because like the Elorian time sickness, you were talking about, Gary, is specifically from yesterday's Enterprise. That was the thing that Guinan allowed.
I had forgotten about it. I that was one detail I like. You bring it up, I'm like, oh yeah. But at the time I was like, well, this is just happening. I'm just going to go with it.
That was specifically why Guinan knew everything was wrong in yesterday's Enterprise, and why it was basically her because of that, and Tasha knew because Tasha knew she was supposed to be dead. And that's sort of the situation in that, is that both of them know things are off because of different reasons, and they're the only two that are really cognizant of the situation. And so I there's so many references to that I really feel like there's a lot in there that might be kind of like important to this season.
Yeah. Oh, so Who Watches the Watcher is an episode about Romulans. So, and Laris is a Romulan.
Yeah, that might be interesting.
It's the episode where they find like a bunch of proto. They find like a proto Romulans living in like an agrarian society pre modern technology. It's been a while since I've watched it, so my memory of it is very fuzzy.
I don't remember anything.
Oh yeah, someone gets shot with an arrow, and they're like trying to save him because he's been injured. I can't remember. Is it Riker or someone?
I believe it's Riker. It's been, I mean, it hasn't been that long since I watched it, but it's still been like 3 or 4 years. So
yeah, it sounds like you'd have to watch it to see if it's relevant, because it doesn't sound super at the moment.
Other than like the elements.
Anyway,
it has some thematic elements. I don't think maybe necessarily continuity wise relevant.
In any case, Guinan, seeing Guinan show up is pretty interesting, and having her, like, the whole process of making her like trust him was very interesting. And to answer people who were like, why didn't she recognize him? None of this has happened because in order for Guinan to have met Picard by that point, it would have had to be in a timeline where the Enterprise existed and Picard and all of them went back in time to meet Guinan in the first place.
Yeah, I mean, she met Data in the past in the Mark Twain episode.
Yes.
But I don't think Picard. I don't think past Guinan ever met Picard in that episode. I think she.
No.
I thought Picard was in that episode too, or was it just Data?
No, it was Data and Geordi.
Yeah.
Some people seem to think Picard was in that episode as well.
He's commanding the ship.
Yeah. I don't think young Guinan ever. I don't think like Guinan in the past ever meets Picard.
No.
Well, some people seem to think that she should recognize him, even if he had gone back then. Though it wouldn't have happened in this timeline yet.
Also, I mean, even if she did meet him there, and I'm pretty sure that was over 100 years ago.
But it wouldn't have happened anyway, because it would have had to be in the timeline where the Enterprise existed.
But no. So, all right, time travel doesn't make any fucking sense.
No, it does not.
This is where Star Trek has no consistent, because I can make a case for going either way. But then I'm like, Star Trek's time travel rules are inconsistent and make no fucking sense.
Well, we gotta remember we already jumped into another timeline, and then we jumped into the past of that timeline where the convergence or the split in the branch happens.
We jumped before the diversion, so it still isn't an alternate timeline. But also, then you get into the fact that the Enterprise would have had to have traveled back and then it just
falls apart.
Your brain starts leaking from your ears.
Yes. In any case, Guinan does get him to the Watcher. I'm curious to see what else happens with her in upcoming episodes, because Picard asked her not to leave Earth, which she was planning on pretty much doing.
That's the cliffhanger. Like, the cliffhanger is who is the Watcher. I'm wondering if it's another false cliffhanger. I wonder if it's going to be like episode 2 where the problem got resolved right fuck away.
I hope not.
I mean, this one is if I mean, false cliffhanger. It's still a cliffhanger. Like, the Watcher just being like, "This is who I am," right at the start of next episode would be valid as a storytelling choice.
It would be fine if it was just explaining this is who I am, but if it amounted to nothing right at the beginning of the episode, that might be something else.
I don't think this is one they can just throw away.
I think there should be a little more to it. Sorry,
there was too much build up for them just
there's
too much build up for them just to throw it away as a plot point.
So with they had Agnes and Picard spend some more time together, which is always nice. Picard some more reveals about Picard's past and what is involved in why he's been sent back to this timeline or something like that. Can't quite figure that out yet. It's something to do with his mom. But I kind of loved how much Agnes knew about Picard. Like, look at you, Dixon Hill was a super cute line. And we also finally found out why Jean-Luc Picard has a British accent, because the family went to England.
Which was the proper response all along.
Yes.
But why they didn't do that right from the start, boggles my mind.
Nope, but I mean, we finally have the answer. It's nice to know. I was like,
9 years later.
And we're like, thank you. But sad to see Chateau Picard in bad shape.
So one thing we haven't talked about at all is these weird flashback Picard keeps having.
Yeah, actually, I figure it must have something to do with what Q keeps alluding to, right?
Yeah, like, I don't know what's up with them. I have no idea what they're doing with them. But it's like, so for those who aren't keeping up, I assume anyone watching this has seen it, but if you, just in case you haven't, Picard's been having these like flashbacks to this to his childhood about like being scared and hiding in this terrarium with his mother. And like at several points, at several points he revisits this greenhouse in modern day, and it's demolished. It's like it's I mean it's still there, but it's disheveled.
And
It's like
his
falling
mom
apart
in this episode, he talks to Agnes about how his mother used to play Edith Piaf for him
yeah.
to make him feel better, but it was only like she asked for one specific like verse of it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. I think it must have something to do with like his father seemed abusive. Something to do with that relationship and why he's not interested in relationships. Like maybe he's just always kind of run away from that because he's, the Xander Harris excuse, like I don't want to beat my partner or something, like I don't know.
Yeah, well there's definitely like it definitely alludes to trauma. But it's not like Picard isn't hard on the sleeve like Discovery is. So like it's harder to parse.
It definitely is. Like I think it's coming around, but I think part of the reason it's so disjointed is Q keeps saying that he's not dealing with it, and Laris implied that he's not dealing with something, and everyone kind of implies throughout the season that Picard is,
running from something.
Running from something.
Like,
he went to the stars to run away from something. So
like that's literally what Laris says to him. So.
So. And trying not to be close to people, but he's close to his crew, which is very weird. Like he and Agnes are really developing a relationship, and she seems very concerned for him. Like she did say in the previous episode, she kind of wants him to be her dad.
Well, I mean, so clearly where they're going with this is that both Agnes and Picard are damaged people. Like that's clearly where they're going. I mean, they're also going with that with Q and Seven, or with not Q, with Seven and Rafi.
I think Seven and Rafi are the same person, and that's why they like each other so much, but that's also essentially why they can't get along.
Yeah,
in this episode we were killing ourselves laughing when
they're very like action oriented and like very dedicated to their causes.
We were just dying when Rafi's like trying to goad Seven into doing stuff, and Seven's like, we shouldn't steal this. Like Seven's like, we shouldn't steal this police vehicle. We can't just drive off somewhere. Like we should just like transport blah blah blah. And Rafi's like, oh, what? Big pilot can't drive a car? And Seven immediately like jams the car into reverse and slams on the gas and peels out of there and is like driving like a maniac. And Rafi's like, no, not like this. This is not what I meant. And it's hilarious.
I love them, but they're very toxic.
Yeah. She's like, can't drive a car. Can I? Okay, I'll show you, bitch.
This is after Rafi has pulled out her phaser, right?
Yes.
And everyone's like, oh shit, she's actually got this. And then she phasers the glass so they can get into the police cruiser.
And she had a tricorder that could have unlocked the car. Yeah. And she tells Seven, no, it was more fun to shoot out the window. Which is why Rafi didn't need the gun from the guy, because she has a phaser. And Seven's like, why do you have a phaser? And she says, I have no idea what you're talking about. Just completely straight face. They're just like...
Pretty much everyone is ignoring Agnes.
Yeah. It's like, oh, how did this get here?
Yeah, exactly. I have no idea how this got here.
Yeah.
I have no idea.
I forgot I left them in my pants.
Like Rafi now, yeah, and so Rafi and Seven are now peeling through the streets of Los Angeles, wrong way on one-way streets, in a stolen police SUV.
Yep.
With computer tracking down Rios. And I'm sure that's good. Oh, and then they got trapped by the cops and got transported out. That was the best part. And the cops were like,
damn self-driving cars.
Yeah, they saw them disappear. That was amazing. That lady cop didn't know what the fuck happened. It was unbelievable. Just one of the best things I've ever seen. Oh my goodness. The Seven and Rafi show is great. I'm also enjoying the Agnes and Borg Queen show. I knew they were going to become best friends. I think they're best frenemies now.
like I said, I wonder if they're setting up her to be the villain of season 3.
She's the new Borg Queen. I can see that happening. I like her so much because she's not likable. Like, I mean, like that's the thing. There are parts of her that are likable, but people. I don't think characters need to be likable to be interesting, or for you to have empathy for them. And I like that so much of Agnes is irritating and grating and annoying because women so rarely get to be that on TV shows. They don't get to be the eccentric genius. They don't get to be like a total shit show. This is great. I'm going to share this, and then we can wrap it up. But yes, exactly. This is the motto for Seven or Raffi, 100%. Oh, we're gonna make sure I get the right one now. Oh, it's in Facebook. There we go.
This is just perfect, right?
Yeah, it's the Seven and Raffi show, basically. That's what it is. That is their that's their life. Be gay, do crime. So the next episode, God, they're just still all split up everywhere, aren't they? I don't know.
Raffi and Seven are gonna.
They're gonna get
ambush the
Rios.
transport.
I think they're gonna get themselves arrested and thrown into the sanctuary place too. To be honest, I just don't see this getting any better for anybody
No.
anytime soon. I just see it getting worse. I don't know. What do you think, Green?
No, I think we're probably going to get an episode set in the Sanctuary District as well. I definitely think that's coming.
Everybody's getting thrown in there.
I think whatever Q change is going to get resolved pretty quickly, and I think we're going because there's a lingering mystery, which is what the original Borg Queen wanted in the first place before the Stargazer was destroyed. And they have to deal with that too.
What she was trying to do in the first place.
Yeah, like what was up with that? So they also have to deal with that. So I wonder if we're going to get a resolution to Q fucking with the timeline pretty quickly. Like maybe 2 more episodes, and then spend the rest of the season dealing with whatever that was about. Because the Borg ship is also very important. The Borg ship is in the opening credits, which means they want to call attention to its importance.
You would think Agnes would know a little bit more about that.
Wrong Borg Queen.
It's a different. Oh, it's the Borg Queen. Oh, you're right.
Remember, this isn't Skin of Evil Borg Queen.
You're right. You're right.
I still maintain that other Borg Queen, she wouldn't consume Skin of Evil somewhere.
Oh, that's what you kept. I never understood what you meant by saying that she assimilated Armus, is what you're saying.
That's why she looked that way.
It wasn't just a BDSM kind of look thing. It was, that's an interesting.
Could they even assimilate Armus?
I
don't know.
Nanotechnology.
If the Borg, if anybody could, I suppose the Borg could assimilate Armus, right? That's an
Yeah,
crazy
immediately what I thought when I saw her.
Yeah, I know. Well, Lower Decks was is before. So
right.
yeah, they There's so much continuity to keep in track now. Then we're going to start watching Strange New World in May, and we're going to be completely confused.
I have a pretty good grasp of TOS, so I'll probably be okay.
You're going to be the only one because I don't remember any of that shit. I'm sorry.
It'll be like because I watched the entire TOS like right before I rewatched the entirety of TNG, and TOS has a lot more simplistic storylines, so they're easier to retain.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, so also there was, so we brought this up. So there was an episode called of TOS where they went back in the past as well, and it was supposed to have a spy spin-off of Star Trek.
Oh, really?
It had a talking cat named Isis.
Yeah, you mentioned this before.
What's the episode called? The episode was Priority Earth, something along those lines. Let me get a name for it.
Okay.
So that's the character. What episode she's from? Oh, the cat was also a shapeshifter because, of course, she was.
Okay.
Assignment. No, that's a book spinoff.
It's all right.
Yeah.
What's the point of why are you bringing up the episode?
Just because I just want to bring it up because they've done this with the plot of Picard is very similar to the plot of this episode.
Oh, interesting.
It just doesn't have the talking cat. It has Guinan instead.
Guinan is the talking cat in this situation.
Nice.
That's interesting.
But there were apparently there was a reference to this episode in this episode of Picard. And I'm just trying to remember what I missed it. I just saw people talking about it on Twitter, and now my brain has just shut down, and I am forgetting what the reference was.
Well, we can maybe find it for the next stream when we talk about it.
Yeah, it's fine.
But
the episode, well, Assignment Earth is the comic book that is a follow-up to the episode. That's not the original. Oh, yeah, whatever. Assignment Earth is like the comic book that was followed. I don't remember what the episode, but yeah, either way, like I think Picard is going to bring this episode into continuity. Well, it's already in continuity because part of TOS, but I think there might be a continuity connection between this episode of TOS and Picard.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's definitely been a lot of continuity between a number of the shows and Picard. Like they're definitely tying a lot of stuff in from DS9 and potentially from Enterprise. And certainly from the original series and from TNG. So it'll be interesting to see what else comes in. So I know the next episode is called Fly Me to the Moon. So that probably indicates that it's the song will probably be in it, yes. But it probably indicates something to do with the Europa mission. Maybe I doubt anything to do with the Evangelion, but who knows?
I was going to say, is this going to be the Star Trek Evangelion crossover? I've been hoping for.
You know what? Who knows? At this point, like all of the writers on this show are probably like of the age and of the situation that they are probably like well aware of Evangelion in at least one version.
I have to watch the rebuilds. I've only seen the first two.
No, we've seen the first one. One and the series, of course, which I really enjoy. So
there's the series, there's the movies, and then there's the rebuilds. And I've seen the first two rebuilds. I need to sit down with the other two. I'm a massive I don't advertise it because I'm ashamed of the fan base, but I'm a massive Evangelion fan. I think it's fantastic.
I like it a lot, but you know what? I would not be super shocked if it was not.
One of our first conversations was you and I bonding over Evangelion.
Oh, really? That's cool. I was gonna say I would not be super shocked. In fact, if it was an Evangelion reference, because there is a theory that all of the versions of Evangelion are alternate, like are reboots or another life or another that's
the theory with rebuilds.
Yeah. Sorry?
It's another attempt,
another life, another go through of it. And that's
what the rebuilds are.
And that's sort of what Picard is doing is they're being given a chance to fix things.
Yeah.
Um,
I don't think there's actually going to be a crossover, but I would not be surprised if there are multiple subtle Evangelion references.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. I'm thinking it might be a reference in some way, and Europa is certainly like even a bit of a reference. So I'm curious, and spaceflight will definitely have something to do with it. Maybe that's the big thing. The spaceflight mission might be the thing that is what Q is trying to affect. It might be one of the first things that really brings attention to somebody. Maybe he's trying to speed up first contact or speed up Borg interference or something. Who knows?
The fact that they're doing this on a the fact that they're centering this around like a space launch can't be a coincidence. It's certainly going to play in very heavily.
Yes. Yeah, certainly. Sorry, it just got the desk knocked again. Gary's just gone quickly to the bathroom, but we can just wrap it up. But
Yeah, you guys wanted to end up early, and we're ending on our normal time.
Oh, so no worries. I mean, it happens. I'm just I as I was mentioning to Green beforehand or yesterday, my computer like pretty much died earlier this week, and I had to replace the hard drive. So that was a little stressful. Yeah, and now I'm just doing a little bit of catch up.
I had assumed that wasn't going to happen. I had made alternate streaming plans, which then fell through, which then remade room for this.
Oh, well, that's good at least. I mean, I would certainly, yeah, it's fair for you to assume that it wasn't going to happen because, usually it doesn't get fixed up that quickly. But iRepair or iReaper, maybe in Riverdale / Leslieville. Much thanks to Paul over there for fixing up my computer. Happened in like 2 days time. I was dead on Thursday and back up and running by Saturday. So that's pretty amazing. Got a new hard drive. The computer is practically as good as new, and it'll run for me for a little while longer though. Maybe hopefully I'll get a new laptop for graduation. So we'll see. Anyway, Gary's back. So yeah, we'll see what happens in this next episode. Next couple episodes, definitely. I don't know. I mean, I think it's a little up in the air in terms of this. I would personally be surprised if the timeline situation gets wrapped up as quickly as all that, but anything's possible. This is Picard. I mean, we thought that the magistrate would be around longer, and he got disintegrated. So
yeah,
there you go.
I don't know. Like I said, I suspect that they're going to wrap the. I don't think we're going to dwell on the. I don't think we're going to dwell on the plot line where like they're trying to stop whatever Q changed, because I think that for too long, I think that there are too many other plots.
I think they might be stuck back in time for a little longer than they expect.
Well, there's this plot there, like once again. So one, they have to deal with Q, whatever's on with Q with him losing his powers. And they also have to deal with whatever the heck is going on with the original Borg Queen.
Yeah, unless that's going to be season 3. But I mean, I think there's a pretty good argument for Agnes being the Borg Queen in season 3. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah, so we'll see what so. Beyond the fact that I don't know where they're going with this plot, and I don't know, like, are we going to see more of like fascist alternate reality Federation as well, or is that done? Was that a 1-episode thing?
I don't know. I mean, I think looking at it, some things to think about over the next little while, over the next 2 weeks, is what's Picard trying to do? What do they have time to do in a 3rd season to do that, to prove their point, I guess, to argue their thesis, so to speak, if you think a TV show has one. So they've only got a season and a half left to do whatever they're doing.
I mean, that's assuming it's ending at season 3, which we don't technically know.
We do know. They have
Oh, we
said
do?
that. Yeah,
They've
they said for
formally announced it?
sure. Yeah, they're ending it at season 3.
Okay.
So they have one more season after this one to wrap it up. So kind of like, I guess, looking at what are they trying to do here and what are the larger themes might kind of indicate where they're going because they only have so much time.
That's interesting. So, but I mean, also the 2 seasons that we got were completely unrelated to each other.
So I mean, except in terms of like larger themes of like aging, and frailty.
And they carried Picard's character journey forward, but the plots themselves were, yeah.
Well, the Borg seemed to figure in both largely, right? Like we never got any resolution on what was happening with the cube and what the Romulans were doing, other than maybe their secret artificial life society was doing this as part of their research. But like the Borg were important there, and they are now.
Yeah.
I think it all has an anti-machine kind of thing bias.
Yeah.
And there might be something in that there.
Yeah. But I mean, and it clearly wants to say something about fascism. I just don't know what exactly it wants to say.
Other than fascism is bad.
Yeah, other than fascism bad.
Well, I mean, I think it does have to say a little bit about what we talked about before, which is like, given certain circumstances, anyone can end up believing certain things, right? Like the great Jean-Luc Picard in another timeline is a horrific murderer.
So yeah, like I mean, I definitely think that like people are products of the circumstances is part of it, but I think there's more to it, but I just don't know what. Because like the idea that like people are a product of their circumstances, like they're not if that's the core takeaway, they're not focusing enough on it.
I think there might be.
I mean, that might change.
I don't know if it is entirely the argument either, because like then they go back in time and they immediately meet good people.
Yeah,
who are in bad circumstances. They have like people trying to rob them, but then they have nice doctor lady.
So and like if they were doing that, and like I mean there's wealth to unpack there. But if they wanted to do that, it would have been better to stay in the fascist Earth than go back in time to examine. Then you could get into like the complexities of like, well, not all humans are fascists. Some oppose the state, but they're oppressed. And like, if they wanted to make a larger statement of fascism, they should have stayed on the fascist variant.
Yeah, because going 2 years in the future just makes it too relatable to now. Like you can't. Like seeing that with ICE agents is like people can feel bad for they're only doing their job, right? Like
but that's doing their job is Nuremberg defense. Like there's
I know, but people argue that. People argue that now about people today who are only doing their job, right? Yeah. But so having it connected to now makes it more difficult to make those criticisms and have them be relevant, like have them make sense to people. You know what I mean? Because if you say that, like,
I don't necessarily think that's the case, but they're not doing that. Like, if they wanted to do that, they could easily have done like, here's an episode on fascist future Earth, and then here are the parallels with modern day Earth. They didn't really do that. Like the parallels are there, but they're not.
I guess they're not drawing them as directly as all of that. Yeah.
Like you can definitely call, like, partially because like no ISIS agent has a skull room.
No, at least I hope not. I hope there's no ICE agent with a skull room, but probably not, right?
I mean, we can get. There's a whole conversation to be had about like the practices of human remains in modern world,
but not like showing it off to people like in your house. Like, here's my skull room. It's a perfectly normal thing, right? Yeah.
Blocks away from me, there used to be a store called the Skull Store, which sold human skulls. It was a thing you could go buy. I mean, it's gone now, but I could go buy a human skull every Sunday because it's only open on Sundays. if I wanted. But so there's maybe, but that's not the reality that
Open on
Picard
Sundays.
is
Well,
bring.
it's weird, but yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all gets in like colonial violence, which in like, because most of these skulls are not Western, but
Oh, of course not.
it's different. It is contextually different than Picard is so evil. He has a skull room of all his fresh kills. Like, that's a different thing. And like, I don't mind them giving Picard a skull room, and I'm overall, other than the skull room, I think that like Picard did a good job at showing a more realistic version of what a fascist future would look like than the hyper campy Terran Empire
Mirror universe where everyone wears gold.
Yeah, like I mean, don't wrong. I'm always happy for Mirror Universe stuff. I don't like the Mirror Universe, but it's always fun to watch these actors just cut loose and ham it the fuck up.
Yeah,
but like they're not, the parallels are there, but they're not calling attention to them. And that might be a stylistic choice, but I don't think that's where I don't think it's a stylistic choice. I think that's just not what the show is choosing to examine. So,
yeah, and that maybe makes it weaker in general, because what's the point of doing it if you're not trying to do that?
Well,
like if the point is like this point A leads to point B, then like that like I'm saying, what's the thesis, right? Like, what is your point trying to prove? Like, why are you not drawing? Like, if I wrote this essay, I would be graded poorly.
That's where I mean, we still have 6 episodes, so there's a lot of room for them to draw their thesis still. But what is the thesis is what I'm trying to get at. Like,
and we're still like, we don't know. The show generally is about being old. We get that. But what is this season about? We don't know yet.
And like I said, it clearly wants to say something about fascism, but I don't know what.
Yeah, and they're not being, cool like Discovery and saying connection 5,000 times. So we are clear about it's about connection.
I mean, we might not. I mean, once again, we might not get the full reveal of what the show's thesis is until the final episode. That is the thing that happens.
And it is a theme that happens in essays. Sometimes you're like, where is this going? And then you're like, oh, okay, all right. Well, that made sense.
I don't want to condemn the show for not saying anything about fascism when it's not even halfway through. But
no, it's just, it is an interesting point and something that to keep an eye on for sure.
Exactly. That's exactly where I'm going with this.
All right. Cool.
So yeah, but it leaves me with no idea of where the show is fucking going. I have no clue.
None of us do. I think just it's trying to say some stuff about getting old and some stuff about fascism in there too, and maybe we'll figure it out along the way.
Yeah.
In any case, I think we'll wrap up for this week. We'll be back in 2 weeks with episodes 5 and 6. And we'll see what happens then, and perhaps some more news about Strange New Worlds. I know we got a Kirk. That's pretty cool. So
Kirk won't be until season 2.
But we got one lined up. But who knows what will happen in this upcoming season? Who knows what will happen in Picard?
Yeah, we've heard very little about Strange. They've been very tight-lipped about Strange New Worlds. We know we have the character roster. We know that there's going to be a white Andorian who's going to be blind, who's played by a blind actor. We know there's going to be a Khan. Both very interesting to me.
They're probably not trying not to detract from the other shows at the moment. There's still a little bit of time to build up the hype.
And like also we're going to be rolling right in like the week after Picard ends, Strange New World starts.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah. Well, it should be interesting. I'm looking forward to getting back to Raffi and Seven stealing cars and shooting shit up and generally being a problem and changing the past in ways that they should not. And Agnes is probably tearing her hair out if she would know anything about this. Anyway, good to see you. Nice talking to everybody. Thank you, Trek fans, for listening as we ramble on. And we will talk to you in 2 weeks. And you'll be streaming next week, I assume, RC?
Yep. I don't know what we're going to be talking about next week. I have no idea what our topic's going to be. Possibly native sovereignty and military. And like, we got a comment from on one of our streams about how like natives should join the army, and I was like, Well, that's a complicated topic. So we might examine that, but I don't know for sure that's going to be our topic. I when we started this, I had a big list of things I want to talk about. We're hitting the bottom of that list. I need to make a new one.
For sure. Well, that's a good problem to have, I suppose. But anyway, next week, talk about native topics, indigenous topics, with Green.
That'll be over on my.
It'll be mirrored on here too, but it'll be on Bright Green City on Twitch, and in 2 weeks we'll be back with Star Trek talk. Thanks so much, everybody. Have a great night.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye.